Many of us that are embracing the vintage lifestyle didn't grow up with family members that really taught us much about old-fashioned living. Some of you did, and that is just wonderful. If you've been invited to Thanksgiving dinner this year, you might be thinking to yourself, how do I behave? What do I do? What do I wear? I'm here to give you some tips and tricks of how to be a classy Thanksgiving guest this year. If your host sent out invitations with an RSVP deadline, definitely make sure that you send back that RSVP by the time that's stated. A lot of times the RSVP is so that they can get a head count and have an accurate amount of food for everybody. You may or may not get to eat if you don't get that in on time. If you weren't assigned a specific dish or a food group to bring with you, make sure that when you RSVP, you ask the host if there's anything that you can bring. You want to make sure that if she's expecting everybody to bring dishes, you are well aware of that and you're bringing what's going to be best for the whole event, not just what's best for you. If you are bringing a dish, make sure that you prepare it ahead of time. For example, don't plan to cook and prepare it wherever you're going. If there's pieces of it that need to be assembled right before it's eaten, that's a little bit different. But for the most part, you want to make sure that whatever you're bringing is ready to go with you when you leave. Make sure to make yourself nice and clean and presentable, practice good dental hygiene and personal hygiene, and make yourself as fancy as you're comfortable with. If you're going for a vintage housewife vibe, this is probably going to be dress, heels, lipstick, pearls, hair up and done. If that's not the style that you have, you can still dress appropriately for the event in whatever your style is. A lot of times people don't actually value dressing up anymore. I like the way that I feel when I dress up, so any occasion for me to dress up, I'm definitely going to take that upon myself. A lot of times I am the only person that's dressed up at a gathering, and that's okay. Bring a gift for the hostess. It doesn't have to be anything big, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, it can even be something as simple as a "thank you for having me" card, but try to be a little bit thoughtful and get something that your hostess will like. Make sure that you arrive on time or a little bit early. Try not to be too early because a lot of times the hostess is going to be setting things up and getting everything ready and presentable, and if you arrive half an hour early, a lot of times that's not already done yet, and that can be kind of stressful for the hostess. So try to make sure that you arrive within 10 minutes or so of the start time so that you're not putting too much extra pressure on, but you're able to get in the door before it's time to start eating. Avoid bringing additional guests. If your invitation did not explicitly say or ask you how many guests you were bringing, or when you verbally talked to the host, if you didn't go over who else you may be bringing, avoid showing up with extra people. You don't know what that could do to the setup, to the dynamic, the meal as a whole. If you're in a situation where you're trying to help a friend or family member out and they have nowhere to go, reach out to your hostess before it's time, because it can put everybody in a really uncomfortable situation for you to just show up at the door with extra people that they don't know what to do with. If you are asked to bring a dish, don't stray from that dish or category of food that you were assigned. Your hostess likely put a lot of thinking and planning into the dishes and what's going to be bringing what and trying to play to their strengths. So if you end up deciding that you really want to make pumpkin pie to bring and somebody else is already bringing pumpkin pie, then we're missing some main courses and we've got extra dessert. So try to make sure that if you are asked to bring something, you stick to that dish. While you're there, really lean into using etiquette and manners. Manners are pretty standard across the board, so those are going to be things like use your silverware and napkins, try to only take small bites, no reaching over other people's plates or food, saying please and thank you, don't talk over others, and don't talk with your mouth full. So those are pretty standard manners that you can practice for the evening. It's a really good idea that if you're not used to using manners, that you start being conscious of it ahead of time and start implementing those things in your day-to-day life so that you're not trying to make too many changes all at once. Etiquette simply means making those around you comfortable. So the best way to do this at a gathering, especially if it's full of people that either you know and you know who's going to be the argumentative ones, or people you don't know, your best bet is to stay away from any type of hot topic. So that can be things like politics, religion, legalization, and government. Those topics are ones that are generally going to elicit some strong emotions from other people, so let's just avoid those during any holiday. If you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. I have actually decided that I am doing Vlogmas this year, so I'm going to be posting a video every day December 1st through the 25th. So if you'd like to support my channel, make sure that you subscribe so that you can see all of those that are coming out. My goal is to have 500 subscribers by the end of Vlogmas. Don't cancel last minute unless it's an actual emergency. If people are planning on you coming in and you cancel just because you decide that you want to stay home and read instead, that can be considered pretty rude, especially since they've been preparing for you to be there. So try to make sure that if you make the commitment to go, unless there's an actual mental, physical health emergency, that you are going and attending instead of canceling last minute. I hope this was a helpful guide for you. If I forgot anything that you deem absolutely necessary to be a good Thanksgiving guest, leave me a comment down below so that all of our community can share in that knowledge. If you like this video and you want to see my tips and tricks on how to be a good Thanksgiving host, go ahead and watch this video next so that you have some really well-rounded manners and etiquette.